Welcome to this week's spreadsheet lesson. You can see the font's a little bit small. So let's highlight everything. So we go in the corner above the 1, we highlight everything, then we come to font size and we go from 12 to 18. So now we have a much larger font size. Okay, but what we see is that we can't see all 50 states. And so to remedy this, let's actually just hide a lot of the states. Okay. So I'm going to start at Delaware, and I highlight that row. I click down to 10, and I use the Shift and the arrow key, and I'm going to go all the way down to New Mexico, and I'm going to click on Hide the Rows. So I'm going to hide these rows. Okay. So I hid these rows, and I guess I'm going to have to hide a few more rows as well. So I'm going to hide from Oklahoma down to Tennessee. Okay. So now we can see top and bottom here. So we can see what the columns are, and so let's do some totals. So we use the sum command. Remember, we always say equals, so we say equals, and then we type in the sum. And what do we want the sum of? We want the sum of B3 all the way to B53. And we're going to add all those up. Okay, so we get our total 538. That's how many electoral votes there are. And that's how we decide the president. Each state, when you win it, you get a certain number of votes. You have to get 270 to win. Now we have our formula in there, equals sum. Let's see if we can sum up the population. And notice that it's also counting the rows that we've hidden. So we get the plus sign and we pull over, and now we get the population. And you say, well, I know that there's more than 281 million. So this is the data from 2005. And we will look at how things have changed, and we'll look at what changes happened in the electoral map. It's very interesting to see which states are increasing the number of electoral votes. Let's look at land area and add up the land area for the United States. So over 3 million square miles. Now here is the idea of a minimum, the least number. So let's see what's the least number of electoral votes we have. So we say MIN, minimum, and we use that same range, B3 to B53. Okay. And we get just 3. Okay. Let's see if we can find the state with the least population. So we're going to drag over that looking for the least, but now it'll be for column C, and the smallest state has less than 500,000 people. Let's take a look. Which state at this time had the biggest land area, okay, or the least? So it looks like 61. Okay. That may well be the District of Columbia. Now, what about if we want to find what has the biggest value? So we say max for maximum, the same range, B3, B53, and we enter that. Okay, so that, however, doesn't look right, so we don't think that we have that. And if we look, I made a mistake. I put in B3 and then colon 53, so it found a value outside my row. You see that it looked at the whole thing, but if I put the B in front of the 53, now I get the max, which is 55, and up here we see California has 55. Which has the most population? We can just drag our max formula over, and we say, okay, there's a state that has 33 million, once again, California. Well, how did we get that? So if we click on the formula, it's the max of C3 to C53. How about the biggest state in area? So if we pull over, we get 571,000. So you might think, oh, well, Texas is really big at 260,000, but then we see Alaska has more than double the size of Texas. And people in Texas, as a joke, say that they're going to split in half so that Texas will become the third biggest state, because people in Texas are very proud of how big they are. Now, if we say the mode is, well, what happens the most? Okay, so MO, mode, and most, that helps you remember. So we'll say equals the mode from B3 colon B53. So we're using that same range again. And the one that comes up the most often is 3. So there's many states that have just 3. Now what if we try and use that for population? Well, every population is different, so the mode doesn't give us a value. What about for the area? Not applicable either. There's no state that has the exact same square miles as any other state. How about the average? So the average, of course, means that if we put everybody together and share it out equally, how much would each state get? So let's say that in the United States we decided, well, every state should get the same number of electoral votes. So we'll take the average from B3 to B53. So we put in the 50 states, divide by 50. So we should get about between 10 and 11 votes each. And if we look at the average, and we see an enormous number, and I look, and once again I've made the mistake. I didn't put in the B, so I put in that B53 there, and now we get about 10.5 votes each. That would be the average. Now let's see, what is the average population if we put them all together? So each state has about 5.5 million times 5, about 270. What's the average area? About 69,000 square miles. Well, what about the median? What does that mean? So that means the middle value. So if we looked at all the states and looked at them in order, we'd say which of the values is in the middle. And we'll take a look at it by sorting in a second. So let's say equals the median of B3 to B53. So the median value is 8. Okay, so the middle state, so that would say there's 25 states below 8 and 25 states above 8. And so we'll do a sort in a second and look at that. What's the median? So the middle state, so about the 26th state, has about 4 million people, and the middle value for the land area is about 53,000. Okay, so let's say that we're interested in seeing this work. So let's go back, and this time we'll make things a little bit smaller so that we can see the whole range. So we're going to put everything down to 10. Okay, so we can see now the whole range, and we'll unhide them. So if we go to 9 and to 53, okay, oh, we've lost them forever. Well, I hope not. So now if we click on them, we'll see if we can unhide them. You see, I'm struggling, it's not working, but if I go now and I try to, I'll say unhide rows, and there they are once again. Okay. And so you see that we've got this nice range. So what we'll do now is let's select, starting with Alabama, and I hit the Shift key and I go over to, and I go down, and we're going to sort the data here. And we'll sort the data, and I'll say data, sort range. Data has header row? No, it doesn't, right? I'm starting just with the data for Alabama. And now let's sort by electoral vote. So we'll go by column B. So we sort by column B, and we see, oh yes, we have several states that just have 3, Alaska, Delaware, District, Columbia, Montana, North Dakota. And remember we said the median guy was Kentucky. So there's 23 below Kentucky and 23 states above, I guess. So that seems a little bit off to me. For the median. Not. Oh, okay. So it's, yeah. So I'm not sure why it was like that. So we sorted that way. Now, when we look at it, we can see that the electoral votes and population seem to line up, right? So we've got, as the population increases, you get more electoral votes. Finally, we have California with the most people and the most electoral votes. Okay, so we sorted that way. Well, what if we wanted to sort another way? So we wanted to put, as in life, the one with the most on top. So let's try that. So this time we go back and we say data, sort range. Okay, we don't have a data header, and we're going to sort by column B again. But this time we're going to sort Z to A. So look how we sorted Z to A. So we do our sort, and now we have California on top. So if you look, North Carolina, we're not quite in the top 10 in states. Okay? But as we'll see next week when we look at the data about how things are changing, we're gradually making our way up. And what you'll notice is that there's a couple of states above us which aren't growing. And that's what we'll find out, that Michigan and New Jersey aren't really growing very fast. And North Carolina is. And so it probably wasn't too long ago that Massachusetts had more people than us, but now we have more. Now there's one last thing that we can do, which is let's look at how many people we have per square mile. Okay, so what would the formula for that be? So we'd say, well, if we divide the value, how many people there are, so that's in C3 for California, and division will be just a slash in the spreadsheets. So we'll divide the people by how many square miles there are, and we'll find out how many people there are in each square mile. So California has a lot of people, but it's also a very big land area. But if you look at the next state, Texas has fewer people and it has even more area. So we're going to expect the number of people per square mile to be even less. So let's drag that down and we see that, yes, Texas has far fewer people per square mile than. So now let's pull all the way down and we'll get that formula. And so now we have all the, and let's just do one last sort. So let's sort again. So we highlight our data, so the states and the data, and let's do a data sort range, and we do it on column E. If we go to column E and we say we're going to go from A to Z, so well, that would be from the least dense to the most. Let's go from the most dense to the least and see who it's going to be. Okay, and it's kind of guess to yourself, which do you think? And so I know that the District of Columbia is the most dense, but I'm going to think that after that, maybe Connecticut is. That's just my guess. I haven't looked at the data. So we do our sort, and we get, oh, New Jersey. New Jersey is the most. So Washington, D.C., of course, is the most dense, but because it's almost all city. But if you look at the other states, we see that Connecticut is down that fourth. Okay, so please paste your results into Evernote and make sure to go to the Quest as well.